TV shareholders, how are you? My name is Brett Pajunas. I'm one of the directors of the company. I'm joined here with Jeffrey Lawrence. Jeffrey Lawrence is our Chief Financial Officer and Chief Compliance Officer. You already know about us. I'd like to really, I'm thrilled and honored to be able to introduce Dusty Wunderlich. Dusty's up in northern Nevada. And hold on. Are we good? Okay, so I'm told now that we're good and we're broadcasting live. Dusty, we met not that long ago. We became very, very fast friends. And he's an expert, in my opinion, in cryptocurrency, blockchain technology. And Dusty, our shareholders have probably heard from us enough. We'd really like you to kind of give a little bit about your background and talk about yourself and what drove you to get involved with cryptocurrency and stuff of that nature.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. And it's great to be on here and get to in front of some of your shareholders. I've had a great time working with the players team on this project. Jeff Lawrence and I have a long time standing relationship and friendship of, really centered around, libertarian thinking and Austrian economics. And, some of these things, even this idea of using a cryptocurrency for the cannabis space, something we talked about even a year and a half ago. But to give a brief background on myself, I've spent my entire career in financial services, everything from investment banking to venture capital, and eventually made my way on the other side of the table as a fintech entrepreneur, where I've spent the last 5 years of my career. And during that time, I became aware of cryptocurrency and in the early days of Bitcoin when it was still a novelty. And as a sound money guy, I love the concept of what this was doing from a decentralization perspective and the power of what blockchain had the potential to do. So I've dedicated, last couple of years in the firm Sophia Intelligence to solving real issues in the marketplace using blockchain and cryptocurrency technology. So, and that's what brought me to the players team and the MOTA coin project, which we're very excited about here at Sophia.
So excited to have you on board. It's been the same, right back at you. It's been a pleasure working with you and Miles and Jake and your team up in Sophia with Sophia Intelligence, and just a lot of fun. But a lot of you have probably heard about Bitcoin, or you've heard about Ethereum, or you've heard about blockchain technology, and maybe you really don't understand what that means exactly. Luckily, we have Dusty here, who's an expert. He's going to be our resident expert, and we're going to explain some of this stuff. But one of the things I'm curious is how many of you that are viewing this now have actually purchased a digital currency, and how was that experience? Was it easy? Was it challenging? And then after you had the digital currency, what could you do with it? How did you buy things? And they seem like simplistic things when you're thinking about trade, but the reality is what goes into this is so freaking challenging. The more simplistic it is, the more hard it is to code on the back end, and the more thought process that goes into it. I mean, we're whiteboarding out simple things. Everybody has probably used a credit card. Now imagine trying to explain to somebody how a credit card works. We take it for granted. You have your card, you swipe, the merchant gives you something, you sign, you put your PIN in, and that's it. But what's going on in the background is very, very fascinating. And I didn't have the faintest idea as to what went into this until we started this project. So let's talk about our problem. So the problem is this, and those of you that read the press release probably understand what we're talking about, but when we say that we're in an all cash business, you don't understand what that means until you're handling cash. Jeff, I'm going to turn it to you real quick.
Yeah, it's a logistical nightmare, and it's dangerous too, because we make a sale, our guys have to bring cash, large amounts of cash, back to our facility, which we then store in a safe.
So still keeps people at risk.
Yeah, still keeps people at risk, for robberies and other things. But then, once we try to go use the revenues that we've earned to pay our own suppliers and vendors, almost none of them live within a short drive. They live, in Washington or Colorado or something like that. So our ability to then render payment to our suppliers is
challenging.
Yeah, very challenging.
We have to send people with cash.
Right.
Cash, our employees. Again, we're putting them in harm's way, and maybe it's a libertarian in me, but I'm petrified to death of asset forfeiture. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's where cops could just pull you over and take things that are your property and not theirs. But and then you have to fight like hell to get it back. But they're real risks that we have to deal with. And I don't want to put any of our employees in harm's way.
Right. And going out and using cash that you've earned from the sale of marijuana to buy a money order or something along those lines technically violates it's money laundering.
Yeah.
So, those aren't really options. So we started thinking about, everyone knows that marijuana is generally unbankable, but once you work in the industry, you really gain an appreciation for what that really means and how horrible it is. So we put a lot of brain power.
Even getting a bank account open in some cases. This most simplistic things, business 101. Get your business license, get it incorporated, get an account open.
Mm-hmm.
The latter step is the hardest. So
right, and so we started looking at what else is out there. Other people have attempted some type of cannabis-related crypto offering, and what we saw was that at best they were only halfway to a solution. So Dusty, maybe if you could, you're kind of the expert in the field, if you could maybe walk us through some of the other offerings that are out there and what you saw as the shortcomings when we started to talk about this whole project.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one of the great things about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in general is it has fixed supply. So Bitcoin, for example, is only going to have 21 million Bitcoin ever mined. And, living in the fiat currency world we do, where our dollar is constantly being printed, we see that we lose purchasing power in that. So one of the great things with that is that we have sound money. And that's one great thing about cryptocurrency. However, it can be a double-edged sword too. So when we started looking at some of the offerings out there, you're probably, those of you that are familiar with cryptocurrency understand the volatility of Bitcoin, and it's swings of maybe even 10 to 20% a day. So a lot of the cryptocurrencies that are cannabis related, we've seen go a similar route. The longest standing and probably the most stable though is Potcoin, and they've done a great job of building out a blockchain and building out a cryptocurrency. Fixed supply though, and it's made it very difficult, for businesses to really work with that currency because there's so much volatility. So that was one thing that we started to see consistently in everything we looked at, is that there was a lot of speculation built around the currencies in the cannabis space, and none of them were really solving the problem of, how do we have a stable currency that can replace the issues that we're having with the US dollar and fiat currencies. So, and a few were, others out there that were very popular, Paragon, Budbo's just in an ICO. Great projects, great ideas, but probably trying to do too much. They were trying to do things in the supply chain as well as be a currency. In some cases, they're trying to incubate ideas as well as be a currency. So this project was really about solving one problem, and that was creating a stable currency for the industry.
Right. I mean, I think people have kind of naturally, knowing that marijuana companies generally can't bank, they've naturally looked at cryptocurrency as some type of alternative that would allow people to have bank-like services where you can sit and receive electronic payments. And most of the offerings that are out there, they do have that fixed supply. That makes them become speculative investments, right? And so people will buy them and hold them, like Bitcoin, hoping it's going to go up to $20,000 a token. And they don't wind up ever spending any of that. And at the same time, if a business accepts a Bitcoin, it's hard to do your accounting that way because you have to pay bills in dollars, and the value of what you've earned is changing by hour to hour. So it's not really feasible. So what we looked at trying to create was simply a way for people to make and receive electronic payments within the industry. And I think we've gotten we've gotten a pretty good product as a result of that.
I've got an easy way to show this. I'm going to show you guys this real quick. Let me get up to the front of this. How many of you guys at home have a Starbucks app? It's going to seem really nominal. Let's see if we can do this. So you guys are going to see how much of an addict I am with Starbucks. This is a Starbucks app. So picture the first time you download the app, you put in your credentials, and then what you do is you click a button here. I don't even know if you guys can see this, but it says, what do you want to do? I want to add money. I go like that, and it will show you what my credit card is. I've got multiple credit cards stored there, and then what amount I want to do. So if I wanted to add 25, I'll click on that. I add my password, provided I typed that in correctly. I didn't. I go like that, and it's going to say, oops, hopefully all is good. Bam, so it just added $25 to my account. So now when I go to a Starbucks, now have money on my account. I walk up, I click this button, and I click pay. And then you'll see a 2D barcode right there. The person at Starbucks will then scan that, and then money is debited from my account and credited to Starbucks account. Seems simple,
Right.
right?
And the reason Brett is showing this is because one of the things that we've talked through is that there's this pretty small universe of people who actively buy and sell various Bitcoin or other altcoins that are out there, cryptocurrencies, because
Speaking of Starbucks.
yeah, it's pretty difficult to do. So you have to be kind of a techie geek in order to be actively engaged in that. So what we wanted to do was make this as simple as possible in order to encourage widespread user acceptance. And what we settled on was coming up with an app very similar to Brett's Starbucks app, is that you can use a regular credit card, you put dollars onto your phone, and you don't have to understand all of the mechanisms of trading in cryptocurrency, because to you, it just looks like dollars, and you can bring your barcode up to the register at the dispensary, have them scan it, and your dollars will, as MOTA coin, will be transferred to the dispensary.
Yeah, let me take this up. So using that same example that I just did, Jeff is a consumer at this point. Jeff has the app, he downloads it, puts his credentials in, adds a credit card, loads it. Now he owns MOTA coin. So then I'm the dispensary in this example, sorry. I'm the dispensary. Jeff wants to buy this cannabis product. He would take out his phone, he would hit pay. I am now I'm out of props here. So my glasses are going to double as another cell phone device. I would say it's going to be $70. I scan him, $70 gets removed from his account in MOTA coin, not in US currency or any other currency, but in MOTA coin. And then that MOTA coin will get debited from his account, credited to my account, the dispensary, all as well. That is a big problem right now, and I think we think we're pretty close to a solution.
Right, and then the dispensary would either be able to continue using that MOTA coin account to pay their own vendors electronically and go up the supply chain, or they or some combination of their suppliers could then redeem the coins back at a fixed price. So the accounting is not complex. It's very easy to use is the idea, and people don't. What we wanted to accomplish was that people didn't even have to know they were transacting in cryptocurrency.
Right. They wanted to be so seamless and so familiar that they just felt like they were just loading a card, like a loyalty card, like Starbucks, making a purchase, and then all is good in the world. So, Dusty, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, no, the Starbucks app is a great example. In a lot of ways, I think it's a pioneer, even though it's not using cryptocurrency. 30% of Starbucks transactions are on that app now. When they launched it, I think it's nearly doubled every year, and we're continuing to see this consumer behavior of having really easy ways to pay, Starbucks, Apple Pay, things like that. And I think the direction that cryptocurrency is going to start going now, a lot of heavy work was done early on that was very mathematic and tech focused on building blockchains, but now I think you're going to see an emphasis on user experience and creating less friction in using that, and really creating. I think the future will be that the privatization of currency. What we're seeing is that we're going to have dozens of currencies that we use for many different purposes. We might have a Starbucks currency we use for our coffee, MOTA coin for cannabis purchases. And I think we're going to see more of that in the future versus, we've always been, for most of human history, we've only had one medium of exchange to effectively use. And I think that's going to change now. And we're going to have a bunch of different currencies in which to make purchases. And that's why specifically when we built MOTA, this was really all about solving this problem for the cannabis industry. And we think it can be the currency for this industry.
Right. Now, I imagine a lot, if we have shareholders out there who are watching this, they're probably asking themselves, well, if Players Network or, whatever subsidiary we're working through is both buying and then, or selling and then redeeming these tokens on the back end of the platform, then what does PNTV get out of it? Well, we intend to monetize this not through the sale of tokens, but through transaction fees. So, share of transaction fees will be considered revenues, and we'll eventually split that up a little bit among the partners because part of the complication we've run into is that
We did pivot. You know, we were
Right.
going to do the ICO initially.
right.
And with that, you have a bunch of revenues that come in up front,
Mhm.
and we were going to use that to pay some of the people like Dusty and some other groups that we had to help build this marketplace and purchase equipment, should we ever want to go an ATM route or POS. But now with the transactional, it's almost like a merchant bank or credit card processing company. It's a very similar revenue model.
Yeah, so I'm sure people are asking a question about anti-money laundering laws. And that was something that we wrestled with for quite some time. We decided the way to get around that legally, well, I guess not get around it, but get through it.
Compliant.
Oh, yeah, the way to get
Right.
way to get compliant was to partner with a merchant processor that is a licensed money services business, and then would assume all liability for compliance with AML provisions. So it's thought, you know, if they have to file a suspicious activity report or the other things that they're required to do through the Banking Secrecy Act,
Right.
they would then take on that responsibility, and we would share the revenues with them. So that's how that structure is planned to work, and we've identified actually a series of partners that we're going to work with on this project.
Yeah, and they also take care of all the KYC stuff, know your customer, and that's good because we don't really want that liability. Well, clearly we don't want that liability, but we want to do what we do best. We want to market, we want to sell, we want to scale this thing out into as many different businesses that we can. And one thing that I want to make this crystal clear, even though it's called MOTA coin, and MOTA is Spanish slang for marijuana, MOTA coin can be used for anything, and we want it to be used for everything.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, around the office, the easiest way to explain it is we call it PayPal for the cannabis industry. But the reality is it's a lot more than that. And as digital currencies start to mature and you start to see more market acceptance and more people who start using them, think about how few people have actually used a digital currency. So I think at this point in time, unless you're living under a rock, you probably have heard of Bitcoin. You may have heard of Ethereum. But as far as using a token, I think a small percentage of the people in the U.S. have actually used digital currency because it's not that easy. Dusty, can you explain how it's currently going right now, like what the transaction process is?
Sure, sure. I'd like to add on one more point, though. I mean, one of the most interesting things for us about this project is the reason we're big fans of blockchain and cryptocurrency is the decentralization of the financial system. Just in getting in network theory, centralized systems are single point failures, so they tend to be weaker. And this is why distributed and decentralized systems tend to be safer and more efficient. The federal banking system is a perfect example of a centralized system. And what we've seen with this is actually cause major friction between the state sovereignties. So even though states can do commerce how they want to, which we've seen with the legalization of cannabis, we have a centralized banking system. So this is that single point of weakness. So the cannabis industry is really a beautiful reflection of why we need decentralization in our currency and in our banking system. And I think it's the perfect industry to spearhead a project like this and prove out that this is a very, very important piece for consumers and state sovereignty. So I want to say that piece, and then Brett, you also wanted me to go into kind of the buying aspect of cryptocurrency. And
what it is currently today. So if you want to buy a currency, any altcoin, what's that process? I know there's many processes, but what the common ones are.
Yeah, I mean, most people, I mean, if you've ever done it, most people are familiar with Coinbase. They're the largest exchange out there. In a lot of ways, they're the most user-friendly as well, and you can tie a bank account to them, or tie a debit card and exchange funds from there into Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin, or the three currencies that they do. And then from there, very much like the Starbucks app, they have a QR code. So businesses that accept those, you can go and scan that, similar to like you would with the Starbucks app, and that's where the exchange is there. Now, some of the newer coins can be even more nuanced than that, and even more difficult to buy. It can be, you have to exchange from one currency to another currency, even just to get to the currency. So there is a tremendous amount of complexity. Like I said, technically sound what's been built with the blockchain and cryptocurrency. But there's still a long way we have to go in user experience and taking that friction out. So a big part of our design from a technology perspective was to make this very user friendly. It was very important that this can actually be used in an easy way as a currency, which in a lot of ways the cryptocurrency market hasn't done well to this point.
All right, so let's see, where do we want to go from here? We've talked about some other offerings. Let's talk about what's really, I know we touched base on it just a little bit, but let's talk about what makes MOTA coin different than the other cannabis, the other attempts for cannabis crypto. Do you want to kick that off? Maybe we'll talk about stability.
Yeah, we've talked about this a little bit, but there are basically three main points that set MOTA apart from other offerings that are out there. The first is the simplicity that we're talking about. I mean, you don't have to go to Coinbase and buy MOTA coin and then and go through three other currencies in order to get to it, and then figure out how you're going to transfer it to the dispensary. I mean, that's just messy, right? And you can't ask people that are coming in to Las Vegas from Maryland for the weekend who have never done this to figure out how to do that in order to pay for their cannabis product. So we wanted to make this seamless. We wanted people to be able to do this even if they don't know anything about cryptocurrency. And so the user experience and user interface for us has been kind of primary because that's the only way we're going to get widespread user adoption.
Right. And Dusty, will you talk about stability? And that's
Sure.
a big issue.
Yeah. So one of the areas of cryptocurrency that is really important. So, for example, Bitcoin has fixed supply. There will only be 21 million Bitcoin ever in circulation, and that's great for sound money. It also makes Bitcoin very volatile because as money's coming in and out, it's constantly changing the price of that. And that's been one of the main issues with cryptocurrency is people tend to hold on to it because the speculation of the price is going to go up because so that is not creating velocity to be used as a currency. So we flipped on its head a bit with MOTA coin. We said, well, right now, rather than fixing supply, which is really important for sound money, we're actually going to fix it to an index that's tied to the US dollar and tied to an actual marijuana index as well to create price stability. So supply is dynamic, but price is stabilized to an index. So that way we're not having volatility, and this can be relied on with businesses and with consumers that it's not going to be going up and down 10 or 20%. So that was a really key component in the design of putting MOTA coin together, is having a stable currency that can be used and trusted within that, and it creates velocity. And we think as cryptocurrency that we're going to have currencies that are more based on actual use as a currency, and some that are more as a store of value, like gold, for example. So Bitcoin being more of an example of that, where you'd want to hold on to it versus one like a MOTA coin that is really for the purpose of using it as a medium of exchange.
Right. Now, people have, I think the initial conversations that we've had with people since we've gone public about this today is that first they ask how it's going to work, and we've kind of outlined that the version 1 at least is going to be primarily through the mobile app or internet portal that
both.
Yeah. Either way is a way that you can buy cryptocurrency or buy MOTA coin and use it. But eventually we do hope to integrate this with our WeTV platform that's under construction, so that the way that platform is designed is that it has an API to integrate with the existing point of sale systems used by dispensaries, so that we can display in real time prices and inventory that a dispensary would have in a way that's better than if you look at Wheat Maps, for instance. They just have a static page with inventory that has to be manually updated. So we would do that in real time, and ultimately we hope to be able to facilitate an online transaction through MOTA coin.
Sure.
So that would be the next iteration of this. Right?
That would be great. So as you guys know, we launched motacoin.io. That's our website. It's a simple, it's a simple basic website. It's more or less a one-pager. We put that up mostly to do a call to action. We're trying to find merchants, dispensaries. We're trying to find partners. We're trying to find consumers that want to participate in our alpha and our beta launch with this. So if you are interested, please do go to motacoin.io, fill out the forms, view our white paper, view our one-pager. Any people that that are friends of yours that are interested in cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, please share this with them. Let them know what's going on, because we're really trying to do a really nice groundswell right now and bring a bunch of people on board for our first round.
Right, and we believe that we have a very unique value proposition with this too. When you look at the other cannabis-focused cryptos that are out there that Dusty talked about, none of them offer what we do, which is price stability, very easy user experience, and as a result, we've seen almost no user adoption, whether it's Potcoin or Budbo or whatever the other coins that are out there are. We expect, and we hope and expect, to be able to fill that void on a very large scale.
Right. Yeah, Dusty, what would you like to add? And then after this, I'd like to open up for questions, because I'm sure our shareholders will have a lot of them. So.
No, for sure. No, I think we've covered quite a bit of it. Really excited to be a part of this. I think we're really touching upon what some of the next generation cryptocurrencies are going to be trying to do. Velocity and price stability, and actually using cryptocurrencies as currencies is a big talk within the industry right now. And I'm very excited to be able to be a part of this in an industry like cannabis that is also innovative and cutting edge right now. So, very exciting time and exciting project.
Yeah, and so over the next 3 to 5 weeks, we'll be putting out a series of press releases identifying who our partners are. I mean, we've been traveling quite a bit. We've been to multiple conferences. Dusty independently of us. We've been independently of Dusty. We've been going out and just really trying to find out who the best of breed technologies are, what people we like, who's got solutions, who's compliant. Compliance, as you guys know, we're a publicly traded company. We're marijuana, two of the most highly regulated industries. So we understand compliance and we respect compliance. We're trying to find people that also have our same philosophy on that. But over the next, like I said, 3 to 5 weeks, we're going to be rolling out who our partners are, and we're really excited. We got a lot of people who are involved in this project. So you want to look, if you could, please go to the chat box and start asking questions there. I'll even put my glasses on for this one. And again, if there's no such, just click down. There's no such thing as a dumb question. So let's scroll up.
On there.
Okay, we got some generic messages from me.
Afternoon. Okay. Well, I guess we have no.
Put something in there. Just click in that box.
What, here?
Yeah. I'm gonna put down ask. Whoops. I think I was right the first time. Ask here. Hopefully you guys saw that. Did that go through or did it not go through?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So do you guys see that box? If you have any questions, there's a bunch of you on here.
People will wait 1 or 2 minutes and take some people a moment to type sometimes. Is there anything generally you'd like to add to what we've said, Dusty?
Yeah, I mean, not that I can think of. I think we covered a lot of, what the foundational concept is. We're definitely looking at more than anything at this point now, once we get going, it's going to be a lot of fun to get user test this, right? So, I mean, any of you that are on here, as Brett said on the call to action, would love to get you in, test this out. I mean, we're only going to be as good as our users tell us to be, right? So we need users in there to go in, look at our tech, tell us what needs to improve, and be an early adopter. I mean, we appreciate that type of feedback and being able to develop a product that is, benefiting this industry and the consumer in the dispensaries.
Yeah, I don't know if we're the first people in the crypto space to focus on user interface and user friendliness, because it wouldn't make much sense. But when I look around, it certainly seems like we're the first ones to do that.
You'll see, if you've seen the image that we created that I put out on the website this morning underneath ir.playersnetwork.com that accompanied our press release, and then as well with our email and also on social media, you'll see that new next gen QR code. Well, we've actually seen people that have, I can't draw, so keep that in mind, that literally say, here's my QR code, and hand them like this, and they just handed $5 that you then need to scan on another program, convert that to another program, and then maybe one day you'll be able to use it to buy something. So the user experience is very, very important to us. But the other thing I want to let you guys know, this is not, as I suggested, this is not a fly by night. This isn't like, 2 weeks ago we decided to get together and just hop on this hype. We really see a strong need for somebody, hopefully us, coming out to the market and addressing these issues. Now, So you guys know,
we've devoted a significant share of our time over the past 6 to 8 months on this project too.
right? Yeah. Again, I mean, we think we've got something that's going to be very cool. And you know how you can always tell if you have a good project or a good product or a good company is if you would utilize that service or if you would utilize that product. And as CFO, do you like lugging around, you know, $100,000 plus cash?
No, I think this is great, and I think you know, hopefully, if we can get the market penetration that we hope for, and somewhat expect at this point, that this could become the most profitable arm of our business at some point.
It really could. I mean, you're talking about an industry that's going to be, you know, it keeps creeping up to that $50 billion a year on the legal side. Forget the black market, on the legal side. This market's growing, and you know, we're close studies to what's going on at the state level with banking issues, and the problem is the state banks, as Dusty correctly pointed out earlier, the state banks are fighting with the you know, the Fed, the central bank, everything else, and it doesn't seem like anyone. It's like the federal government doesn't want to give at all. They just want to, you know, take a hardline approach to it, even though there is this thing called states' rights, and you know, we should be able to do whatever. Actually, let's take a big step back. We're all adults. If we want to trade in brandy and wampum and Brett's glasses, as long as two people see value in it, who cares? This should all be a moot point, but we are here. It is what it is,
Right.
and we're trying to get through it. So, you guys really don't have any questions? I'm a little shocked.
You know, there's one other point that I think is important to put out there is one of the other things we thought through of like, okay, well, you know, what if the federal ban does go away and the industry does become bankable, which is probably inevitable. So, and part of the design of MOTA was, you know, really with the thought of even if the industry was bankable, is creating the currency. And we created some nuances with the currency to maintain its purchasing power. And have the flexibility down the road for it to stand alone outside of being pinned to a fiat currency or US dollar when the time comes, or if that comes. So there's components to it that will, you know, even in a bankable environment, this will be a strong purchasing power currency for the consumer that I think they'd rather hold than US dollars. So I think that's an important point to highlight as well.
All right, we're in the wrong spot. We were in the chat area. I'm gonna help Jeff out real quick. Actually,
Here, you take it.
yeah, we got a bunch of questions. This is more like our Players Network shareholders that I know. Hold on, let me make this bigger for us. So there we go. Oh boy. Can I go grab a cigarette and come back? Let's see, what do we have here? Of course, I can't really see this. Dusty, hang tight.
Okay, yeah. Excuse me 1 second, guys.
Sure. Okay, what will the state and federal, okay, this is from Skip. What's going on, Skip? Hope you're doing well, bud. What will the state, federal regulatory issues, hurdles be like?
Well, yeah,
I've addressed
I've addressed this a little bit because the major one is the anti-money laundering provisions that are part of the Banking Secrecy Act. We are going through that by partnering with someone who's licensed to do the Know Your Customer program and does that for a living.
All right, now this is it. I didn't even tee this question up. This is from Daniel Dogano. Has MOTA been officially approved in the cryptography world yet? If not, when will it be available to use? I want you to take that one, Dusty, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So again, the question is, has MOTA been officially approved in the cryptography world yet? If not, when will it be available to use?
Yeah, so to answer that, I mean, there's really no approval process that we have to go through from a cryptocurrency perspective. I mean, it truly is a free market. What we did do, though, is we are using the Ethereum blockchain, which is you know, the second largest cryptocurrency out there. It's probably the most powerful blockchain in the industry. It's very well trusted, very well tested. So the backbone of MOTA coin is built on, you know, one of the safest blockchains out there. So it gives a lot of confidence to users. And then, you know, we're actively working on, you know, getting a beta into dispensaries and into consumers' hands, you know, as soon as we can. So, and we'll be sending releases out as Brett and Jeff spoke to about, you know, keeping you updated when that will go live.
Okay, great. No, again, so it is kind of self-governed. In theory, we could put a coin out tomorrow and then list it on an exchange. But again, that's not the business model of MOTA coin. This question I also love. Will MOTA get a lot of exposure on Weed TV on upcoming Weed TV series? Yes, that's a short answer.
You know, I think if we eventually get to that point, which we're working toward, is being able to facilitate an online purchase that a dispensary could then either choose to deliver or hold for pickup. That we would make it clear that that whole transaction is powered by MOTA coin.
Exactly. Let's see. When do you plan on starting? Hey, Sean. So yeah, again, the next 3 to 5 weeks, we have a few more things we need to work out. We're in the final stages for the anti-money laundering compliance piece. The good news is we've got a lot of vendors lined up right now. We've really gone through a lot of people to try and get to the short list that we have now. And really, it's just, well, you're all shareholders. You know, we have our 10K coming out on Monday, and we've got a lot of stuff going on with that. But once we get through, let's say Wednesday, Dusty, his partner Miles, Jeff, myself, and the rest of the team are going to get together and really evaluate who we want to work with. And Dusty right now and his team, they're talking to all these people, and they're looking through API documentation, and they're doing their due diligence to find out who the best partners are for us. So 3 to 5 weeks, we should be in a pretty good spot to be able to announce that. And as we bring them on, I think we should probably just announce the people, announce our partners as we bring them on, because we've got some pretty big partners. So. Yeah. Let's see what else we have here. And Dusty, I don't know if you can see these at all.
Oh, I don't think I can, unless let me see if I can.
I'll just read them, that's fine. The website looks great from a dispensary owner and end user standpoint. Why would we care about MOTA going against the grain and being a high frequency currency? Well, okay, go for it.
Well, otherwise it would never be used for transactions. If you look at Bitcoin, people don't buy pizzas in Bitcoin, really. I mean, because it's a speculative investment. You think Bitcoin's going to go up to $20,000 and you buy the 5, therefore you never spend it. Also, from the business perspective, you do all of your accounting, your payables, receivables, whatever is denominated in dollars. So if you're holding your value, if you're selling, sunglasses and all your sales are just going into a bank account, it's easy to make the payments out. But when you're transacting in a cryptocurrency first, you need to have a stable exchange rate, which is why both the consumer and the business cares about that.
Well, but then specific to a high frequency currency, the high frequency comes into play with settlement time. And that's what Dusty's been working on. I mean, Dusty and his group, you guys looked at you looked at Stellar, you went through all these different technologies to try and figure out exactly that. We can't have a purchase take 7 minutes. It can't take even really 2 minutes. It's got to be real time, and that's been a big challenge. And that's one of the shortcomings that we're seeing with some of the other cryptocurrencies here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, just to add to that question a bit, and this is the big debate going on right now is, I mean, cryptocurrencies are still largely tied to fiat currencies. We pin the value of Bitcoin to the US dollar. I mean, we are starting to see cryptocurrency pairs. So a lot of cryptocurrencies are starting to be valued against Bitcoin. But until we start to see a move of, really pricing things, and that's what's exciting about cannabis, because I actually think that it is a pure market, that this is actually a reality, that, there could come a point in time where everything in the cannabis industry is priced outside of traditional fiat currency. And that's something we've thought about, and it is a very theoretical case study right now. But until we start seeing that shift, and I think we're in the process of that, the more US dollar that goes into cryptocurrency and that transfer of wealth, we're going to start seeing that change from a pricing mechanism. But for now, I think we still have to be pragmatic in the sense that a lot of this is tied back to fiat currency in the US dollar.
We're just reading through some of these. Thanks, Dusty. We're just reading through some of these questions.
I think we've answered
a lot of these.
When do you expect to go live with the app?
Can existing POS? Well, that one we could talk about. So, can existing POS systems be adapted to accept MOTA coin? That's Sean. Sean, a great question. We're working through that. And initially, Well, the short answer is anything is possible. The state, all the states that have recreational marijuana, they have state mandated platforms. So be it MJ Freeway, BioTrack, give me some more of these Metric.
Right.
So there's only a handful of approved vendors. So yeah, I mean, we like to build relationships with them and be able to tie right into their POS. And if not, again, our thought process of being, low drag is just doing a mobile app. I mean, any one of the vendors or merchants can literally use a mobile app, or they can use a web app. And yeah, so that's kind of our game plan.
Yeah, you just need a scanner. Compliment to you here, Dusty.
You see, Dusty, you seem like a great asset to the team, which you are. Get work and get the people knocking on MOTA door. This will be great.
Okay.
Let's see.
Here's a good question. Will this be able to be used in all states? So what's going on in the back end here is we're just buying and selling coins. We're not buying and selling marijuana. You then use the coin to purchase marijuana. So yeah, if you're in Maine, where they have recreational marijuana, you can use MOTA coin. If you're in California, you can use it. If you're in Arkansas or a state where there's no marijuana, let's take Mississippi, you can, yeah, if we can set up a relationship with JCPenney, yeah, you can use it to buy your jeans. So you can use it for anything.
Exactly. So yeah, we don't have any type of borders for MOTA coin. Will it be, then the next follow-up question, will it be global ready? Absolutely. Regulate price. Okay, so price fluctuation, I'm gonna just do that one more time because it's a little bit challenging. So you all are shareholders, you understand what drives stock price: supply, demand, good news, bad news, earnings, so on and so forth. There's a lot of different factors. Coins are not that differently because it's just like a currency. So you look at the US dollar, what happens when our federal government just starts printing out a ton of money, like they do all the time? The value of the dollar decreases. So in our case, what we're doing to regulate the fluctuation is what we talked about earlier. We have a composite index that's comprised of a heavily weighted US dollar versus a index of the average price per pound of legal cannabis in 8 recreational states. And those are the states that publish that on a monthly basis. So we're going to readjust that monthly. So our price is going to be pretty tied into US dollars. So I know the purists out there aren't going to like us very much, but we're really trying to solve a big problem.
Yeah, so supply is in direct response to demand. When you buy a MOTA coin, it is minted on the spot, and then when you sell it back, it is destroyed.
Right, unless you asked us, do we have any projections for this new line of business? No, since we've made the pivot, we don't know exactly what percentage of the transactional fee we're going to need to share, do a rev share with other service providers. That we will have that soon though, but
yeah, and that's the key component, is that there are other partners that are going to need to take a share of the revenues we're generating off of this.
Exactly. So how much is, so this is from Donald. Hey Donald, how much is the fee for a transaction? Again, we're still working on that, but we put a spreadsheet together with some of the prices. They vary from, I mean, some of these places are 9%, some of these places are 6%, some of the places are 4%. Our goal is to go for a volume and go for quantity and not try and, rape and pillage us, because we're in the business too.
Yeah, we want to capture the market with the lowest price.
Right, because here's the real opportunity. I think, Dusty, you kind of touched base on this a little bit earlier. What happens when marijuana is now legal and it's bankable? Well, if we've gone out and we've scaled out to all these cannabis businesses on the B2B side and then the B2C side, and they're used to using us, well, why would they switch? It wouldn't make any sense. We already have them as clients. So our game plan is long term. We're thinking very, very long term with this.
Yeah, people still use the Starbucks app, even though it's just dollars, right? I mean, you do it because you get loyalty points and other things, and all that can be incorporated into MOTA.
Right, let's see here. Oh, no, I just lost my spot. Don't do it. I lost it. Hold on. Now, one day I might get LASIK surgery. You guys won't see me with these glasses. Okay, as a consumer, if I come to Vegas and buy $100 worth of MOTA coin and only use, I can't see, is it 30 or 80?
80.
80, can I get the balance refunded back to my bank account? That's a great question from Ari. We're talking about that. So with my Starbucks act, I actually went to Starbucks with Mark, our chairman and CEO, just before this, and I asked that exact question: can I refund the money? And they literally looked at me like, well, no one's ever asked me that. what do you want to, I don't know. I mean, we could probably, charge you and then refund you back to your, we don't even know. We're hoping that that's the same answer that our vendors will give, because people will just want to keep it on the card. We're always loading more as Starbucks users, not worried about whatever the balance is. So we're working through that. But at the moment, I think that on the consumer side, I don't know. You got me. So
well, the kind of general idea with MOTA coin is that the coins are redeemable at a fixed rate. So whether it's the consumer or the business, someone should be able to redeem those coins for dollars.
Okay, Skip, you have another question. What will the state and federal regulatory hurdles be like? I can't read that. In terms of the length of rollout. I don't really think there's going to be anything from a state or federal aspect that's going to slow us down or jam us up, other than, of course, the Securities and Exchange Commission, when they keep coming out with guidance, which is why we, pulled the ripcord on the whole SEO.
But there's no security involved. It's just a payment mechanism.
Okay, and then Michael, you asked, what kind of model for merchant transaction fees do you have for potential partners? Again, we're working that out. We want to undercut everybody and grab market share. Trevor, you asked if we have any dispensaries lined up to start testing MOTA coin. Yes, we do. You'll see a series of press releases coming out over the next 10 days. We're really thrilled about that.
You still have a problem with cannabis sector companies since they can't set up a bank account to receive cash from your tokens. Well,
yes,
that's an obvious problem, but very few marijuana businesses don't have a related business. So usually they would have a bank account through a related business, and they just would not bank the revenues that they get from the sale of marijuana. So they'll have a cash safe to bank. This basically is a bank for their marijuana money, but then they have an actual bank account for their other business. So you can route it to one or the other, and then you can do an intercompany transfer.
Dusty, I'd like you to take this question. Will you open up mining with it? So I know the answer, but I want you to take that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, since this is on the Ethereum blockchain, the answer to that's no. And because of the way that we structured the currency, supply is fully dynamic. So what happens is when you roll US dollars into MOTA coin, it mints what in the industry we call minting. It creates new currency. So, and because that currency's pegged to an index, we know what the value is, so it doesn't need to float. And then when the dispensary has that MOTA coin and wants to exchange that back for US dollars, we burn the tokens or the MOTA coin in this case. So that supply goes there. So supply is fully dynamic because we've pegged price to an index. And that was for the purposes of price stability. It was for the purposes of, really a lot of the problems with setting up these cryptocurrencies. And in the early days, you got to set a supply and you can never change that. And we have no idea how big the cannabis industry is going to be. So having a dynamic supply helps MOTA coin grow with the industry as large as it wants to get. So.
Got it. Thank you, Dusty. So my last name is Pajunas. Everyone butchers it, so I'm allowed to butcher people's names too. So if I do, I apologize. Keoki, you asked, how will MOTA coin affect the bottom line of PNTV? I think we kind of discussed that briefly. We made an investment into this, and the goal is going to be long-term, revenues that will hopefully increase quarter after quarter after quarter as we bring more people online, as more states come online. And
yeah, if you think about 3 or 4%, let's say hypothetically, of all payments in the marijuana industry, well, marijuana industry is projected to be $30 billion by the year 2030. $30 billion by 2020, 75 billion by 2030. So those are pretty big numbers, and of course, a lot of those transactions are still going to be in cash or some other mechanism. So if we capture a big share of the market, but only half of all transactions are credit card based, where people would want to use MOTA coin. That's still a pretty big amount, and then there would be a revenue share to all of our partners as well. But I think the bottom line is going to be pretty good, and frankly, is could be what's an easier, faster way, more scalable, I guess, way to make money than to grow marijuana in our facility.
Okay, Michael, great question here. Let me just read this, and I think the three of us are going to address this. So the biggest benefit for a dispensary using MOTA coin would be not to deal with cash and having an ability to keep it electronically. Would your transaction fees be passed on to the consumer or the company? Also, what would drive consumers? Couple points here. Great question. Yes, you gotta understand, Michael, the single biggest benefit in what you just asked is the ability to take currency, any currency that we have, like a $5 bill, using a credit card, putting it onto an app, and then getting that to the dispensary, and the dispensary then taking that MOTA coin and cashing that out, and then that cash becoming bankable. I cannot explain how big of a deal that is right now. It's a huge problem. I mean, there's literally companies now that are sitting with millions of dollars in duffel bags and storage units. They don't know what to do with them. So that's please don't downplay that. That's one of the biggest problems that we're trying to solve, is trying to get cash legally back into the system. And then you ask, would your transaction fee be passed on to the consumer? Well, we're going to leave that up. Dusty, we haven't really gone over that too much, but I'd like to do what PayPal does. It gives you the option of either, if you send money, you can pay that fee, or you can send money and the recipient can pay that fee, or you can send money and you split the fee. So I think every consumer is going to be a little bit different. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Dusty.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, as we get to the final stages of seeing, the total cost of transaction fees, we're going to have a better understanding of probably, what should be really taken by the dispensaries, what should really be, taken by the consumer, based on where the market lands right now. But at the end of the day, I think that, at least from our perspective, MOTA should be, all about driving consumers to the currency, which I think dispensaries would be about as well. So, part of that, you said, why, is consumers hold MOTA coin, and a big piece of that is, even though it is tied largely to the U.S. dollar, there's an index to maintain purchasing power above and beyond the U.S. dollar, and also it's like the Starbucks Act, like Brett said. There's going to be ways to incentivize people with holding that MOTA coin. So the benefit long term is, hey, I'd rather hold it on my Starbucks app or my MOTA coin, because I'm going to get benefit from that versus just holding a US dollar.
Good. All right, now there are a couple questions here from, I guess, probably shareholders asking what Sophia does and what their role in this is. Let me just kind of answer that, and then you can add on if you want, Dusty. So this, these coins don't exist on themselves. Dusty mentioned that this is built on the Ethereum blockchain, but it's not an Ethereum coin. You have to create the coin separately, and it's coded differently. And those, creating the coin itself, making sure the transactions process correctly, building the online portal through which these transactions occur. Those are all part of the things that that Sophia did for us. And Dusty, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. I mean, just to give you a brief overview, I mean, Sophia Intelligence, we're a venture studio that focuses on blockchain and cryptocurrency technologies and really thinking through new economic models. And our overall thesis is to partner with industry leaders like a Players or in other industries that we do work in to solve problems in their industry using blockchain and cryptocurrency. So we have a team of technologists, developers, people with economics backgrounds, marketing backgrounds, to really come alongside an industry team like Players and build a full end-to-end solution for them to take to market.
Exactly. And again, it's not just that. When we talk about coding and developing on blockchain, I'm going to put it in layman's terms. It's kind of like building a piece of software, more or less. And so that's like the first step to creating a coin, token, crypto, and anything of that nature. And above and beyond that, just because again, Dusty, we did get a couple of people asking us about our relationship and what you guys have done for us. You also did a fantastic job writing the white paper. If you haven't downloaded our white paper, please do so. Can one of you guys explain what a white paper is in regards to cryptocurrency and its importance?
Yeah. A lot of people have called the white paper the new business plan, and really, I mean, it was born out of Bitcoin. You can still go and look up Bitcoin's original white paper that landed in 2008, and it was a 9-page white paper laying out. And it was created, for those of you who don't know the story, by pseudonym. We still don't know who it is. They dropped it onto a chat room and kind of the cryptography chat room area, and that really started the idea of creating these white papers, which is really a document outlining the overall thesis from a technical and theoretical perspective of how a coin and currency is going to work.
Yeah, and I'll just add that a white paper is to a cryptocurrency what a prospectus is to an IPO.
Exactly.
There you go. That's a good way to look at it.
Okay, I think that we've been through all the questions.
Yeah, so I want to thank all of you. Some of you did ask what you guys could do to help. And no, you can't get coins yet or anything, but what you can do to help is please go to all of our new, everything's the MOTA coin. So facebook.com/the MOTA coin, twitter.com/the MOTA coin. It's in our white paper. In the second to last page, you'll see the 4 main social networks that we've got. Please share that with people, tag people in our posts that you know who are into cryptocurrency. Have them sign up for the white paper. Everyone here, please make sure you sign up for the MOTA coin through the MOTA coin website as well. And we're going to be keeping you abreast. We've got some new communications we're going to be rolling out next week, where we're going to enable all of our shareholders and prospective shareholders to choose what kind of content you want delivered to you and how. So we're going to start separating our different ventures. But again, you guys have been great. We really appreciate it. Dusty, we're thrilled to see what this next chapter brings us. We're going to have a lot of fun over the next couple of weeks. So TNTV shareholders, thank you so much. Dusty, thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you've got a lot going on right now.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dusty. And I guess with that, we can wrap up. Thanks
to
all of our viewers for taking time to spend part of your afternoon with us.
Thank you.